Hello guys, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to be start with the third chapter on the topic regarding the building construction technology, your subject. So here you have the topic name is that we are going to be discussed today: the brick, stone, and block masonry. Brick, stone, and block masonry. So while we are constructing a load bearing structure, so for the load bearing structure, the main load carrying component will be the walls. And how to construct a wall: by using the bricks, by using the stone, and by using the block. That is mainly going to be called as masonry. So masonry is a structure that is not a complete, you can say, a whole structure. You are going to be combine the different units to make one complete structure. If we talk about the wall, so wall is not constructed like your beam and column with the help of molding or by just casting, or it is not, you can say, a complete one unit. So that particular one unit wall is going to be defined the combination of different smaller units. Okay, so if we talk about the brick masonry, then the smaller unit will be the bricks, and if we talk about the masonry, that is stone, then that smaller unit will be the stones, and for the block masonry, the smaller units will be the blocks. And what is the you can say the load transfer criteria be there, and how you are going to be strengthen that particular wall, mean complete masonry structure in the form of walls, by providing the different smaller units as brick, stone, and the blocks, and how you can get the strength to carry that particular load or to transfer the load from top to bottom, mean from the top structural components, maybe the beam and the slabs. From the beam and slab, the load is coming on the walls, and the wall is responsible to transfer the load towards the foundation of your building. Okay, directly towards the foundation of your building. So the foundation is also, for the load bearing structure, the foundation is also going to be made by using the bricks, these smaller units. And also you can construct your foundation by using the stones and blocks as well. Okay, so if it is a concrete structure, the frame structure, then the foundation, the columns, the beams, and the slabs all will be of casted with the help of concrete, so it will be there. But for the masonry structure, you are going to be providing
So today is the
brick,
introductory
stone, or
lecture.
the block as in,
Somehow, units
and
to
the
construct
proper formation of the these wall structure, the masonry structure, by combining or joining these units, smaller units, we will discuss in the second part of this chapter. So this topic is going to be going to comprise of two parts. One part we are going to be discussed today, that will be somewhat introductory, and in the next half we will discuss in detail the technical aspects of this topic. So today we will discuss about the stone masonry. We start with the basic definitions. The art of the building structures using stones and binding materials like cement is called as stone masonry. Then we talk about the brick masonry. The art of the building structures using bricks and binding materials like cement is called as brick masonry. Similarly, the block masonry, it is the art of the building structure using concrete blocks with the binding materials like cement is called as block masonry. So in the, you can say, ancient times, the lime was also used to join for as a binding material, but nowadays generally the cement, sand, mortar is used as an binding material to bind these units, okay, to make a proper masonry structure. So this binding material is the cement. So cement is the main binding agent, okay, but the sand is also going to be used to strengthen it. We are adding water into it with a particular cement and sand ratio, maybe 1:3 mortar ratios, 1:4 mortar ratio, that is going to be designed. If it is 1:3, then your 1:3 ratio mortar, cement, sand, mortar is more strength having, it will give you the more strength as compared to 1:4. I mean, if the cement contents relative to the sand are more, then the strength is more for any masonry structure. So for this particular case, we will focus on this binding material also. If we are going to be join or going to be bind these units with all together to make a whole structure, masonry structure, the walls, or the different columns are also constructed by using these units, then we have to be very careful and we have to be use these binding material with the particular ratios. So guys, now we will discuss about the brick. First of all, we will discuss about the brick masonry. So start with that. We are going to be discuss that unit. If we want a brick masonry to be constructed, so this unit, understanding of this unit, that what is it and what are the dimension of the bricks and how it is formed, that is very important. So in this particular slide, we are going to be discuss or going to be noticed about its length, width and depth. So here you can see, first of all we will discuss its length. The length of the brick, first of all its formation, it's a cubical unit. Okay, so it has a certain width, it has a certain depth, height and it has a certain length. So it, you can say in this particular way, in 3 dimensions, this is going to give you that particular form. Okay, that is the brick. So it is going to give you the minimum length 8 to 5 by 8 of an inch, mean 8 into 5 by 8, or 8 7 by 8 inch, that is the maximum one. So minimum and maximum, that is according to the British specific recommendation. And generally if we talk about its length, so its length in general, including the mortar thickness from the center of the other unit, if we are going to be join or connect or bind one unit, like this is the one in face, so at a certain distance we are going to place another unit as brick, and also at the bottom you may have at a certain distance. So why this distance is maintained? Because the certain part or certain, you can say, dimension is required, that space is required to fill up with the mortar, the binding material. So mortar is required to be filled within that particular spaces, at the bottom, at the top, at the sides. Okay, so if we are going to be able to mark the center line of this joining or the binding material on both sides along the length of this brick unit, then this will give you the length. So generally when locally we are going to be purchase the brick and we talk about the length of the brick, then we talk about the length of the brick including the mortar thickness, and that is going to give you a different dimensions. We will talk about it later, but now only from the one face, the one corner of the brick, until the second face, opposite face of the brick itself, what is the dimensions of the brick itself, that matters a lot. Okay, so according to the British recommendations or specifications, its minimum length is maintained equal to 8 5 by 8 of an inch, and the maximum is 8 7 by 8 of an inch, and the width is maintained as 4 1 by 8 of an inch minimum, and 4 1 by 4th of an inch as maximum, and depth is 1 15 by 16 as minimum, and 2 into 15 by 16 maximum. Okay, so that is very important to know about that. So all the time you must know about the dimensions of your brick. So generally if we talk about the locally available dimensions, so it is going to be mentioned as that the 9 inch is the length of the brick, and about the width, it will be 4.5 of an inch, including the mortar thickness, center to center, from both of the sides of the brick, and along the depth, that is going to be maintained as 3 of an inch. So these are the whole numbers, you can say, in whole numbers we can say. So generally if you talk about and you will go in the market and the dimensions are going to be discussed, then you can say that the 9 inch is the length, and 4.5 is the width, and 3 inch is the depth for a particular brick. So that is what about the brick dimension. So we can enlist the brick masonry definitions when in this particular topic. First of all, we will discuss about the definitions. Then we will discuss about the classification of the brick masonry. Then bonds in the brick masonry, types of bonds, wall junctions, mason's tool in the brick masonry, reinforced brick masonry, construction of the brick masonry, general principle and precautions, and defects in maintenance of the brick masonry. So today this first 2 topics we will discuss. So these definitions are going to be hold a big part of it, big, you can say, half of almost today we are going to be cover these definitions at the most, and this classification of the brick masonry we will also going to be discussed at the end. So in the definitions, this is the list given in this particular slide. So start with the definitions. First of all, the masonry. It is used for the work of a mason. Mason is the person who built the structures with the construction materials. Masonry units, it is an artificially prepared regular shaped block used in the masonry work. So bricks in the brick masonry, stone block in the stone masonry, concrete block in the block masonry. So this word masonry comes from the mason. If the mason is there, is a person that is responsible to manually going to be joined together or bind together all of the units to build a structure. Okay, so then we can say that it's a mason, and if the mason is involved in any structure, construction of any structure, then we can say it's a masonry structure. So next one is erises. In the figure over here, you can see what erises is. The edges formed by the intersection of plane surfaces of a brick are called erises. This is very specific definition. That's most of the time it was observed by the students when they are going to be attempt any question regarding the definitions. Then they are going to be remold the definition by using the different terms, different words, and they at the time when they are marked or evaluated, and it was they are evaluated lesser as compared to those students, those who are going to be writing it as a full, you can say particularly technical terms they are going to be used, and in that particular specific way they are going to define any term, then they are going to be object on that, those students, that why we are given lesser marks. So please guys, if once the definitions are involved, then be specific with the technical words. Those are very important. Okay, so your erises are the edges. Okay, so first of all you have to focus on the word edges. Okay, so which type of the edges? Those are formed by the intersection of the plane surfaces of a brick. So that's very simple definition. So you are well known about the plane surface. So if we talk about the brick, so I have told you that it is the three-dimensional object. So for the three-dimensional object, how many plane surfaces you may have? You may have one top plane surface. Similarly, you have two bottom surface. Okay, so this is going to make two plane surfaces. Now if we talk about the side surfaces, okay, so this is the front face, it's supposed, so one here and one at the back, so two front and back surfaces. If we talk about the side surfaces, so this is the first one, and similarly on this side. So you are going to be having the 6 plane surfaces in total for this brick element. Okay, so if this is the particular case, then each plane surface is going to be intersect with the other plane surface. Let's suppose if we talk about this particular plane surface, that is at the top surface, this top surface at the 4 sides of it is going to be intersect with the other 4 plane surfaces. Is that so? Okay, so here at this particular along this side, it is going to be intersecting with this back, this right side plane surface of the brick, and this is the left side plane surface. Okay, that is intersecting, that is going to be connecting over here. This is the intersection point. Okay, similarly the length side is going to be intersecting with this particular front face plane surface, and this particular length is going to be intersecting the back side plane surface of the brick. So 4 sides of this top plane surface is going to be intersect with the 4 plane surfaces. Okay, and similarly each is going to be give you that intersection. So whatever the edges are going, the number of the edges are going to be formed by the intersection of these plane surfaces is going to be called as erises. So here you may have the one edge, this is second edge, this is third edge, erises, this is fourth one, this is fifth one, at bottom it's sixth, 7, 8, 9, and along with that will be 10, 11 and 12. So the total of the 12 arises, 12 edges you may observe for this particular brick element. Number of arises will be 12. Then comes frog. The depression provided in the face of the brick during its manufacturing is called as the frog. Okay, so here you can see this is the frog, and this frog is going to be a depression. Generally you have observed for a particular brick that a certain type of the impression you can find, this depression you can find out, and that may have the different shapes. It may be a diamond shape, okay, it may have the rectangular shape, it may have a oval type shape, okay. So this is going to give you the frog, that's called as frog. So there are particularly two main purposes of providing the frog within the brick. The first of all, that the trademark. If the brick is manufactured in a certain company, in a certain, you can say, kiln or burnt area, so it is requiring a certain trademark of the company in which it is manufactured. So that trademark is going to be imprinted in this particular frog, within this particular depression. And secondly, it is going to be used to provide the proper bondage, because the mortar, the binding material, is going to be inserted also inside this frog. And if this frog is going to be connected with the bottom surface of the brick that is placed above that particular brick, then this is going to give you a good bond between these two bricks, at the top and bottom bricks. Then comes course. So it's very simple definition. Each horizontal layer of the brick laid in mortar is called course. Okay, so once you are going to be joining or combining these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and this is going to give you one layer. So if we talk about here, so this will be one layer of the brick, row of the brick, you can say, okay. So above that, you are going to be, to make a wall, above that particular layer or the row of the brick, you need to place the other bricks, okay. So in any formation, we are not going to be talk about the formation of the bricks, just the bricks are going to be placed in the form of rows again at the top of the first layer, then another layer, third one here placing above, okay, and then fourth one. So these layers of the bricks, okay, so each horizontal layer, I'm not talking about the vertical one, okay. So in vertical direction, I'm not talking about that, okay, just the horizontal layer, that rows. So each horizontal layer of the brick laid in mortar, okay, so those are joining or combining or binding together with the help of cement, sand, mortar. This is called as course, okay. So if the number of the courses we can count, okay, and the formation of the bricks within that particular course we can see, okay, that it is laid along the length, it is laid along the width, whatever the formation is. So this is going to be called as brick bond, and we will discuss in detail in the second half of it, okay, when we will discuss about the construction or the structure of the wall, then we will discuss that what is brick bond. So here the courses of the brick masonry are going to be discussed. Then comes quoins. The external corner of the wall are called quoins, and the brick forming the quoins are called the quoin brick. For example, the quoin header and the quoin stretcher. Okay, so here you can see the edge. Let's suppose it is the one end of the wall, and this is the second end of the wall. Okay, so it is going to give you the corner. This is also an external corner, two corners, let's suppose. So this is also an external corner. So this external corner of the wall, this is going to be called as quoins. Okay, and the bricks forming the quoins, its formation, you can see over there that in the first course from the bottom, the bricks are laid in along the length, and in the second course the bricks are laid in the form of along the width. Okay, but this formation or this laying of the brick, that pattern remains same when we will be in the middle of your brick of your wall. Okay, so it's along the length, it's along the length, it's along the length. But when we are in the second course, then along the header, along the width, if we are going to place or going to lay our brick, then there will be left a certain space that is not going to be accommodated with the header, with the width dimension. So what you have to do, you have to place a certain odd dimensional brick inside to cover that particular space. Okay, and that particular brick is going to be called as, or the part of the brick is going to be called as quoin header or quoin stretcher. Okay, and what about the perpends? Here in the figure you can see the perpends are the vertical joints of the bricks. These are going to be called as perpends, or what you can say that the line joining the vertical joints of the alternate courses of the wall is going to be called as perpend. The perpends of the alternate courses should be in the same vertical line. You can also define the perpends, that is the line, the vertical line joining the vertical joints of the brick in alternate courses, alternate layers. Okay, हमने कोर्स क्योंकि डिफाइन कर लिया है पहले, we already have defined the course, so we can use now instead of the layer that word course. Okay, so I am repeating the definition of the perpends again, that the vertical line joining the vertical joints of the alternate courses of the brick wall is going to be called as perpends. Okay, so here also it is written but in two lines, so you can join these two lines in one definition. The vertical joints of the brick are called perpends, it will be okay, and the perpends of the alternate courses should be in same vertical line. Okay, so you can join these two in whatever I have told you in that particular way. So next heading is the header and stretcher. In this slide we will discuss. So these are the most important technical terms in the brick masonry that we are going to be used off and on many times in the coming lectures. So header, as I have told you, that if in the one course of the brick wall, we are going to place our bricks along the width. Okay, so technically this formation or this pattern is going to be called as header. Okay, if this one brick is going to be laid along the width. Okay, so if we are going to be see in the third dimension, and this is the brick, length of the brick. Okay, so in this way the length is in the lateral direction. Okay, and in the front side you can see the width and height of the brick. These two dimensions will be in the front face of the wall. So this is going to give you the definition respectively, that is the brick laid with its width in elevation is called as header. In a course in which all bricks are header is called as heading or the header course. So here you can see all of the bricks are laid along the header. So we can say this course is going to be called as header course. Okay. So next is stretcher. Stretcher is along the length. Okay. So similarly, if in one course, in one layer, so you are going to place your bricks along the length. So this will be the this brick is going to be called as stretcher. Okay, so the brick laid with its length in elevation mean the front side of the wall, that is going to be called as stretcher. That particular brick is called as stretcher. Okay, so this brick is the stretcher brick, that brick is header brick. Okay, so at the lateral dimension it will be width of it, so height and length. Okay, so here it will be height, it will be length. So this course is going to be called as stretcher course. Stretcher course or stretching course, both words are going to be used. Okay, side by side. So in a course in which all bricks are stretcher laid, all bricks are stretcher bricks, is called as stretcher or stretching course. Now comes closure. What are the closure bricks? Closure bricks are prepared by cutting standard brick across the length or in such a manner that their one stretcher face remain uncut or half cut to fulfill the requirements of the bond in the straight walls, corners, junctions or crosses. That's what I have told you, that if you are going to be making one course, like in the previous it was like along the length you are placing. So what is the formation of the wall depicts or presents, or going to be say that you are not going to be place the vertical joint of the one course on the vertical joint of the other course, alternate course, next course, consecutive course. If let's suppose you are going to be place your bricks along the stretcher also, and this vertical bond, this vertical you can say joint is coming exactly above the vertical joint of the consecutive course. Okay, so that pattern or formation is not recommended. That we are also going to be discussed in the second half of our lecture, but still, because it is related with the definitions we are discussing here, so you must have some idea about that. So that particular formation is not recommended. That pattern of placing or laying the bricks in the courses, consecutive courses, are not recommended, in which the vertical joints are going to be laid above the vertical joints of for the consecutive course. That is not recommended. So what recommendation says? A recommendation says that there should be, let's suppose if the stretcher course be there, then the bricks laid, let's suppose it's all stretching. Okay, so next brick, if it is a stretcher course, consecutive course is also stretcher, then the brick one edge should be placed, should be laid in the consecutive course just at the mid of the course in the bottom course. Okay, that bottom course is like this, so half of it here you are going to be place your brick like this, so that the load coming on this particular brick is going to be distributed uniformly, equally on the bricks in the next course. Okay, so this should be the pattern of the brick. Okay, so here also, if the load coming on this particular brick, it is going to be distributed within these two bricks equally. Okay, so this is not going to give you the more strengthened form of for the brick. That particular pattern and that rule or strategy, that is going to be called as, or that pattern of laying the bricks in consecutive course of the wall is going to be called as the bond. Here the word bond is going to be used. This bond is not the joint. Okay, this is not binding. This is its meaning is not the binding of the different bricks altogether, and it is not going to represent the joint of the brick. That is going to be represent the pattern of the brick. Pattern of the bricks in consecutive courses. Okay, so this is the thing. Now let's suppose if you are ending the wall over here, this is end of the wall. So what to do with this particular space on both ends? This space is going to be covered with the, should be covered with the help of 4.5 dimension is left over here. Okay, and here also 4.5 dimension is left. Okay, so what you can do, that you can place, you cannot use the stretcher course, okay, at the corners, at the queens of the wall. Here you have to do some adjustment. Okay, and to do these type of the adjustment, let's suppose if it is a stretching course beneath, the first course is stretching, and above that you are placing the header course. So it should be just same on both sides of the joint of the course. So here you have 2.25 dimension, here you have 2.25, and all together it will be 4.5, the width of the brick header. Okay, so here also you are placing the header, here also you are placing the header. So here the dimension will be left 9 minus 2.25 at the corner, at the queen of the brick. Okay, so then again you need some adjustment over here. 9 mean half, 9 inches minus 2.25, so 7.75 dimension is left with you. Okay, so how to accommodate or adjust this dimension? That dimension is going to be adjusted by cutting the brick along the length or along the width, along the stretcher or along the header. So if you are going to be cut your brick to adjust the queen or the corner of the wall, it is going to be called as cloyer. And if you are going to be cut your brick along the width or along the header, it is going to be called as brick bats. Okay, so here in the figure you can see this is the brick, the whole dimension of the brick. Okay, so along the length you are going to be cut your brick. Okay, or you can cut the brick in inclined form. You can cut it in that particular way. Okay, so as a wedge you can cut it. So this is going to be called as the cloyer. So there are 4 types of the cloyer: queen cloyer, king cloyer, beveled cloyer, and mitred cloyer. Okay, so what are these? We will discuss one by one. Queen cloyer is the mostly used form of the cloyer in the brick masonry, in which you are just going to be make the width equal to half. Okay, so half of it along the length. Okay, so you are going to be making half of it. So if you are going to place your brick like this, and in third dimension is this one. Okay, and along the length you are going to be cut your brick like this. Okay, so this half, outer half, will be the queen cloyer, equally into 2 halves. If you are going to cut your brick along the stretcher, so it will be the queen cloyer. And what about the king cloyer? King cloyer is that if you are going to be cut it into this particular form. Okay, so just the part of it you are cutting out. Beveled cloyer is this particular form in which you are going to be make a wedge, and that wedge is along this particular side view, in which the width and the height is there. That is just at the center or at any other location. It is not at the corner, at the bottom. Okay, this wedge will be coming here. Okay, and but for the mitred cloyer, this is going to be coming at this corner. Okay, then comes the brick bats. Brick bats, as I have told you, if you are going to cut your brick along the header from anywhere in any dimension. Okay, so this is going to be called as across the width, across the header. If you are going to cut your brick, it is going to be called as the brick bats. There are 4 types of the brick bats: 3/4 bat, half or square bat, quarter bat, and beveled. Okay, so 3/4 bat mean that you are cutting your bat, mean that particular 1/4 you are taking out and 3/4 will remain. Half mean you are cutting just at the half, and 1/4 bat mean that is going to be cut from here, so that is not used, that part is going to be used, 1/4 of it. And beveled bat again, along the width wedge form you are cutting like this. The different forms: now continuing with the definition, this slide comprises of the definition of facing, backing, and hearting. What is facing? From the word, the name, it's clear that the external face of the wall is called facing. Backing, the unexposed or the internal face of the wall is called backing. Hearting, the interior portion between the facing and backing is called hearting. Okay, so from where this hearting comes? I think the understanding of facing and backing is very clear, that if one room is there, so here you have door of the room, and here you have a certain thickness of the wall. Okay, so here you can see the outside, okay, exterior part of the wall, and here the interior part. Okay, so inside of that particular unit, that room, okay, the whatever you are going to be see, that face of the wall is going to be called as backing, and facing is this one. Okay, so this is going to be called as facing. The external face of the wall is called as facing. So this is facing and this is backing. So it depends upon the formation of the unit itself for which the wall has been constructed, that which face is external and which face is internal. Now what about hearting? For the 9-inch wall, there is no concept of hearting, mean interior portion. Let's suppose the 9-inch wall is going to be made. If we are going to be seeing the, you can say, plan view of it, okay, so or we are going to be draw the 3D view. So this will be the 9-inch wall, let's suppose. So here you have stretching course first. Okay, so if it is the length, then what do you expect in the lateral direction? It will be the width. It will be 4.5-inch wall. Okay, now if you want to make it a 9-inch wall, so what you can do, you can add another brick behind that in the lateral direction along the length. The stretchers you are going to be adding another brick. So in the lateral direction, the thickness of the wall now will become 9 of an inch. Okay, by placing 2 stretchers in one course in the lateral direction. Okay, I am repeating this, that if you want to construct the 9-inch thick wall, so what you have to do, you have to place the 2 stretchers in the lateral direction to make it 9-inch in the lateral direction. Otherwise it will be 4.5. Okay, so now if you are going to be laid the header course above it, so what you have to do, along the joint, any joint you can take 2.25 here and 2.25 here. So one brick you can place along the header. So in the lateral direction it will be 9 of an inch. It will be okay. Okay, so another brick you can place like this. Then another brick you can place like this. Okay, so it will be header. So 2.25, 2.25, 4.5, in between full brick 4.5. So totally it is going to make 9 of an inch. Okay, so similarly 2.25 over here, and then another brick you are going to place over here. So here it is left 2.25. So what you can do, you can place a queen cloyer. Okay, cloyer you can place over here with dimension 2.25, cut along the length or the stretcher. Similar you can do on the other side of it. So that is not going to give you any material that you are placing in extra in between. It's 9-inch. Similarly you can place it. So 9-inch and 4.5-inch. Similarly 4.5-inch is when all of the courses are the stretching course. It's stretching course. Above that also the stretching. Okay, and again above that by using the perpends, mean in alternate courses that vertical joint should be aligned. Okay, so here also. Okay, so in this way all courses are of stretching. So what does it means? That at the back the dimension will be 4.5. In the lateral direction the dimension will be 4.5. So in this way you can have the thickness of the wall equal to 4.5. So 4.5 and 9-inch wall doesn't contain the hearting. But if the dimension is 13.5, okay, so let's suppose you want the same brick as 13.5. So what does it means? It's 4.5 it's 4.5 in the lateral direction. So total will become 9. So if we are going to be add in the lateral direction another brick as stretcher bricks, we are going to be placed. So in the lateral direction now dimension will be 13.5. 1.5 is added, so it will be 13.5. Okay, so 3 bricks you are going to be placed in the lateral direction. So total thickness of the wall now will become 13.5 of an inch. So for this 13.5, this first layer will be facing, this last layer will be backing, and what is inside, this particular number of the bricks inside of facing and backing will be hearting. So for 13.5 thick wall you must be having the hearting with you. Okay, the interior portion between facing and backing. Okay, so these all bricks are going to make the backing. Okay, these all bricks are going to make the facing, and inside this particular brick is going to be, these all bricks are going to make hearting of the wall. Then comes reveals. It's very easy to understand here in the figure also given. The portion of the sides of the door or the window openings extended beyond the door or the window frame towards the face of the wall are called reveals. Okay, so that particular part, this is the window. Okay, one kind of window. So this opening is there. So inside the opening, that particular portion of the wall in which the frame of the window later on is going to be fixed, that is going to be called as reveal. Okay, so that particular part of the wall inside, that is called, that side, that part is called as reveal. Jambs, it is the vertical sides of the door or the window openings to which the door or the window frame is attached. So this particular face is called as jambs for the openings. Soffit, the undersurface of any structural member such as the lintel or the slab or the beam is called as soffit. Okay, so let's suppose this opening is there. Whenever you are going to be provide any opening within the wall, you have to provide a smaller beam above that particular opening, extended a certain width out of it. Okay, certain dimension out of it. So that is going to be called as a head of the opening, and generally this is the kind of a beam, and it is called as lintel. Lintel is the beam that is provided above the openings, doors, windows, ventilators, etc. Okay, so that is that underneath surface of it. Okay, so if it will be a slab, if you see your roof, okay, so that is going to be make a slab. Okay, so underneath the slab, if you will be inside the room and you will see at the top, so the bottom side of the slab is going to be called as soffit. Bottom side of the beam or lintel is going to be called as soffit. Sill, the horizontal surface at the bottom side of the door or the window opening is called as sill. So here the bottom side. Okay, so this is also going to give you a certain shade, certain part that is extended out, or just the wall thickness be there. Okay, so this bottom surface that is going to be called as sill. And that for the door it will be the floor level. डोर के लिए ये फ्लोर लेवल होगा, विंडो के लिए थोड़ी सी हाइट पे ही आएगी आपकी सिल, दैट बॉटम पार्ट ऑफ द विंडो, एंड वेंटिलेटर पे ये और ज़्यादा जो है वो टॉप पर जाएगी. Now continuing with the definitions, column. This definition is very simple. The vertical load bearing member whose cross sectional dimensions are much lesser than its length is called as column. Simple vertical member in which its dimensions will be very small as compared to length. Length is larger, okay, and the width and the other two dimensions will be very small. Pillar, the vertical member used for ornamental purpose. That is also the vertical member, but that is not the load bearing vertical member. This is for the ornamental purpose. Okay, so or as memorial is called as pillar. It is an architectural term for a column. Pier, it's structural term. that is also a type of the column, that is same as column, but for the larger loads to be carried by the heavier structures. So commonly this term is used for such columns which are designed to withstand the lateral water loads or the columns of a bridge. Okay, like, so it is called as piers. So a heavy structural member, that is the bridge, and to carry the load of the bridge, the heavy member is required, the vertical member is required to transfer the load of the bridge from top to foundation. So there the same columns are going to be called as piers, that is responsible to carry the heavier loads, vertical and lateral also. Then comes pilaster. Pilaster is the thickened vertical load bearing member forming integral part of the wall. In the next slide we will see the figure. So it is a column, but that is of the brick, mean extending out of the wall. Okay, so in parapet wall, majority of the cases you have seen that. Okay, so at a certain intervals there are the pillars are going to make, the columns are going to be constructed, but those are of bricks. Okay, and those are going to be extended out of the brick masonry, a brick wall. So those are the brick going to be called as brick pilaster. Then comes mortar. The mixture of binding materials and the fine aggregates forming a workable paste is called as mortar. That's what I have told you. That is the combination of binding materials, cement usually nowadays we are using, and the fine aggregate, sand we are using. Okay, grout or slurry. It is a thin paste of only cement is called as grout or slurry. So where the more strengthening is required, then you are not going to be adding fine aggregates into it, just making a paste of the cement with adding or mixing water into it. So it is used to fill the joints mainly where the more strength is required. Lintel, I have told you, it is a small horizontal beam or that member to span up the small openings within the wall or the brick masonry is called as lintel. Coping, it is provided at the top of the wall to avoid the dampness. So usually in the parapet walls you have seen that above the wall another you can say in the form of cone or in the form of rectangular shape, you have seen an extended part of it, that is maybe of cement, maybe of concrete, that is called as coping. The head of the wall that is provided usually at the parapet walls to avoid the dampness to come in the building. When water falls on this parapet wall, so it is going to be tripping out from both of the external sides, so it is not going to be the water is not going to be cause dampness within that particular wall. So they are specially designed bricks to cover the top of the brick parapet wall. So maybe if these are going to be made with the help of bricks, so these are called as coping. But not only the brick, okay, so these are going to be made with the help of specially designed bricks, but also the concrete material can be used, the steel material can also be used to make the coping. So this diagram is going to show you the load distribution. This diagram keep with you when we will discuss about the load distribution within the wall. At that time we will also going to be discuss this lintel. This figure we will discuss in the second half of our topic. So last slide for today, that is about the classification of the brick masonry. So according to the type of the mortar, you have the pakka masonry, you have pakka and kacha masonry. According to types of the bricks, you may have the first class brick masonry, you have second class brick masonry, third class brick masonry and kacha masonry. So from the most highest efficient brick till the lowest efficient brick, okay, that is going to be classified. So here it's simple, pakka masonry and pakka and kacha, mix one or just the kacha one. Okay, so that is mean you are using the mud after joining the bricks, and very low class bricks you are using. Sometimes the mud bricks are going to be used. Okay, so generally we are going to be use the clay into it along with the mud. Okay, and also the different components, chemical components, and we are going to be burnt it in the kilns at a particular standard temperature, and then we are going to be making the bricks. So if those are not properly burnt and the components of the bricks are not properly you can say mixed together, then what is going to be happened that the efficiency or you can say the strength of the brick is not going to be achieved much more in quantity, so it will be very less. Okay, so lesser strengthened bricks are going to be obtained. So in which the masonry in which the not high class, low class bricks are going to be used, or you are using the for the jointing material, binding material, you are using only the mud or the clay, not the proper cement or like this. So it is going to be called as kacha masonry. And pakka masonry in which the high class bricks are you are going to be used with more strength, and the that binding material you are using like cement, that proper strengthened one. So that is going to be called as pakka masonry. And also plastering is going to be provided, more secure the brick masonry, that is going to be called as pakka masonry. And according to type of the bricks, of course it's first class brick, okay, giving you the most efficient bricks in all respects, with strength, with water absorption, and with all other properties. And the next slide, next half of our topic, we will also going to be discuss the different properties of the bricks. Okay, so second class brick little bit lower strength and properties, and third class brick also having the least properties, and kacha masonry is going to give you the very low class, okay, in which you are only using the mud and you are just compacting them, and just you are burning it, and you are using those bricks. So those are not going to give you any property with respect to the strength and other. So just to be incorporate, like in villages you are providing the kacha masonry, so these are not going to give you the proper structure with the larger strength. Okay, so that is going to be called as kacha masonry. So in this way we are going to be end with our first half of our